Right, hello, good evening, and welcome, fellow chess players, and welcome to this evening's session. This was meant to be done last night, actually, but I had a bit of a long day, and I was too tired, and it was a bit late last night, so I didn't get around to doing this. So, what we've got tonight for you is a rerun of the match I played against my online Backyard Professor fan club fellow player called Strize, where he gave me a bit of a beating, and it's followed a bit of a theme lately because I can't beat him for love nor money. And we've just finished another correspondence game tonight, and he's duly kicked my butt again. He's now in front by about 6 games. So, well played, mate. Well played indeed. And I will be getting my own back or having a go at it. So, anyway, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to do a game analysis on the match we played the other night. And this has been provided by Joezerneem, who's I don't know if a senior member of the Backyard Professor fan club is the right phrase to use, but our really good friend from Holland, Joezerneem, has taken the time to sit down and write 3 pages of notes and analysis on this game. So for the beginner players out there, we're hoping that you'll be able to get something from this and see where mistakes are made and how we should really try and improve our thinking. Now, if you're new to this channel, welcome. And I'm a beginner player, and this channel is aimed at trying to help other beginner players. I'm not trying to teach anybody. I'm just trying to encourage people and try and help them play a better game. And if you can learn from mistakes that I make, then all well and good. And if you will, you're welcome to comment. Please like and subscribe the channel. I will try and keep an eye on the comment feed if anybody says anything, but that's on a different window to what I'm actually looking at here. So we won't talk for too long, other than to say yet again a massive thank you to Joezerneem for taking the time and trouble as a well-rated player. I think he's somewhere 2100 or thereabouts. I'm not sure of the exact rating, but the guy's seriously good. But what's really good is he's not alone, but he gives his time freely to try and help players like me improve and see where mistakes are made and how we can try and do things better next time. Obviously, the younger you are, obviously the more chance you've got of doing this, but he's got loads and loads of great advice, and one of the best things he says is try and do more tactics. I know I don't do enough tactics, and I've got a number of correspondence games on at the moment, and I'm not spending enough time doing tactics, and I'm probably getting caught out. But anyway, we'll jump straight into the game. So this was played last Sunday between me and Strize, and we're going to go through the moves, and I will give you either my thoughts or where they're written down here, Joezerneem's thoughts on the game, on the moves that were made and why they were either good or bad, and in my case mostly bad. So here we go. Strize opened with e4. I replied with e5, so nothing's gone wrong just yet. He then played knight to f3, and I duly responded with knight to c6. So we're doing okay. We're doing okay here at the moment. Now the computer's recommending that Strize's next move probably should have been light squared bishop to b5, attacking the knight. However, he decided to push his central pawn to d4. And this was the first part of the game where I had a bit of a decision to make, and it was, did I take the pawn or did I not take the pawn? Now my thinking was that if I took with my knight, then or even with the pawn, I would be out of position and things wouldn't be good for me. However, my move of knight to f6 was wrong for a lot of reasons. What I should have done, oh, I've just had a cup of tea arrive. That's really nice, thank you. Thank you, Mother O'Spassky. That's my mum handing me a cup of tea there. So well done. Okay, so I played knight to f6, and that was my first mistake in the game, and I really wish I'd taken with the pawn. That was the correct move, e5 to take d4. And Joezerneem's comments are this: it's important to try to understand your opponent's moves, every move. White played 3 d4, and this attacks the black's e5 pawn, and it's attacked twice because it's attacked by the f3 knight, and it's only defended once with the c6 knight. So I need to, so black, me in this case, black in this case, needs to deal with that. So knight to f6 is a counter attack on the e4 pawn. So it's not that simple, and some calculation skills are required to figure out whether this counterattack will work here or not. I don't think it's very helpful if he goes too deeply into these variations, because the only thing that really helps is improving your own calculation skills, so you'll be able to calculate and evaluate these positions on your own in future. So this obviously was the best move. This was a mistake. And it should have been there should have been an exchange in the middle of the board, and this was the first move that really was the start of me not doing too well in this game. Okay, Strize duly took. Duly moved, pushed his pawn forward to d5. Threatening my knight. And here was the next mistake. So what I was thinking was get the knight on an outpost. Yes, it's attacked, but I was looking at this square as an outpost. But again, this turned out to be another poor move. I didn't think about this for very long and played the move too quickly. And Joezerneem says, black is in trouble, so accurate moves are required now to stay in the game. If white responds with 5 knight takes e5, now the knight on d4 is in serious trouble. And he's obviously absolutely right, because it's then hanging and there's no defence. So for that reason, this is a really poor move. So where I thought I was sticking it somewhere good, his knight move in here, and this knight is then in serious trouble and has got to be moved a third time. So again, not good, and I've got nowhere really to go with it. If you look at the squares that were available, there isn't anywhere I can move that doesn't leave it in trouble. So the knight is now lost if he moves that, if he takes e5. So he chose to take with his knight to d4 instead. Oh, right, so I didn't mean to do that. Okay. Hang on, I've got to go back here. I've messed this up a bit. Sorry about this. Okay, where are we? Okay. Right, okay, so I captured the knight, his knight back, and he duly took the pawn with the queen, bringing his queen into the game and into the centre of the board as well. I pushed d6 to prevent the push on the d5 from d5 by white. Strize then developed his other knight to c3, and here was another big mistake. And one of the things Ben Feingold says is, you know, if you're going to make a move, at least say why you're going to move it. You know, at least have an explanation as to why you moved it. And when I think about this move, the only reason I moved it there was because I couldn't really move it anywhere else. So for that reason, it's a pretty poor move. I mean, D7 would have been better, and I thought about D7, but then I'm thinking, you know, am I going to be able to get the bishop out at all? I was worried about it becoming stuck, so that's why I played this move. But when you think about it, it does absolutely nothing, and it's just not a good move at all. And as Joezerneem says, this move isn't that strong, as White's not winning any material after this move. Well, I'm not even attacking anything with it. So I mean, it's a nothing move. And all that happens is White has been able. White only helps Black develop, but isn't developing his own pieces. So developing move would have been better. Oh, hold on a second. That's for this move. Sorry, that comment was for the last bit was for this move. I'm not reading my notes properly. So the moving the bishop out to G4 was a bad move because it doesn't do anything, and he isn't really going anywhere with this pawn. Anyway, so Joezerneem doesn't think that's a very good move by White, because he's not actually developed anything when he probably should have done. So yeah, developing move instead would have been better for Strize at that point. Okay, 9. Okay, he played me into check by moving his queen to E5. I covered with the bishop. Where are we now? Okay. Into D7 is a tactical mistake. Knight to D7. Okay, 10. Okay, sorry. Yep, my move. Okay, knight to D7. Knight to D7 is a tactical mistake as it hangs the G7 pawn. Boom, over here. Not a good move at all. And there will also be a double attack on the rook. So really not a good move at all. So I'm moving. I'm sort of panicking when I'm playing these moves, really, because I'm not in a very good position because of the very poor start I've had, and I've really just got myself in a real pickle here. And so, you know, one bad move is just follows another. So moving the bishop back to D7 was the better move. Okay, Queen E4, as mentioned in the previous move, if he'd have taken on G7, you know, there was there's big trouble. There's big trouble here for Black if he does that. So that was a bit of a faux pas by Strize moving there. So so the retreat B D7 was the best move. That shows why that was the best move. Okay. Change notes. Okay, yeah, Queen to G7 would have decided the game immediately because I really couldn't have got out of that. So he missed a great opportunity to finish the game in really short time. Okay. 12. A6. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Another mistake. And as Joezerneem says, A6. This is actually a tactical mistake, but too deep for now. So there's a lot of other implications that he's not going to go into. However, you may be able to understand that this is a risky move. Your king is still in the centre, so it might get caught. You might have thought that 12 A6 comes with a tempo, but if White trades on D7 with tempo, it is White to move with Black's king still in the centre, and unfortunately for Black, there is indeed a devastating attack for White after the pawn sacrifice on d6. So, you know, again, you know, we could have been in serious trouble. Any further notes? If you follow the opening rules, I gave 1, occupy the centre with at least 1 pawn to get enough space for your pieces to develop. 2, develop all of your pieces. And 3, bring your king to safety. It's clear that a6 isn't part of that. Okay, so those are the 3 principles that we try and focus on. And I'll just go over them again. And that's to try and get some pieces in the centre of the board, a pawn or whatever in the centre of the board. Develop all your minor pieces, your bishops and your knights, and then castle and get your king to safety. And you can see 13 moves in. I mean, it should have been obvious that I should have been looking to castle there, and didn't. And he says that Joezerneem quite rightly points out that castling short for white here, for black here, was the best move. Also, there is an in-between move, bishop to g6, which is fine, but only because the queen can't move anywhere with tempo in this position. So, you know, that would also have not been too bad a move, but castling here was indeed the right thing to do. Okay, so 14, playing on. Okay, knight c5. Again, you know, this is in the analysis, this shows up as a mistake. Now my thinking was, I'm trying to get some space for the queen to do something with the queen here, so I've tried to move the knight out of the way. That's the square I saw, and I thought, well, you know, it sort of looks like a double attack, so we're forking the queen and the knight. I mean, he's obviously going to move the queen, but even if I was to take the knight, I'd still lose my piece and not really gain anything at all, because the bishop is still defended. So it's not really the double attack that I was actually thinking it would be. Any further notes? However, this move allows white to do a double attack, which is undefendable. Here 15 queen e5, attacking the bishop on h5 and the pawn on g7. So there we are. He's back in position. He's got a double attack on, but the real threat is over here on g7. That's the real problem. And he notes maybe not so easy to spot for inexperienced players, but it may help if you look for unprotected pieces first, and then find out how you can attack them at the same time. That's always a great tactic. If you can remember, there's a lot for beginners to remember in this game. You know, it looks so simple. There's so many things going on, and there's so many things you're trying to remember all at the same time. And this game takes lots and lots of experience and lots of time to get to become good at it. And I've had a bad week this week with chess. But I'll come to that later. So, you know, what you really should be doing is exactly as he says, and that's look for unprotected pieces, and then trying to attack them. Okay. Notice that 14. So there we go. Hang on a second. Knight c5, which was my previous move, is not according to the opening rules, because the knight's already been developed. So I've moved it twice without being in a position to really do very much with it. So that's why that wasn't a good move. So it was better to bring my king to safety. So again, what I should have done was castled, but I was not thinking correctly, and this is where things start to go wrong for, you know, players at our sort of level. So I've missed the opportunity to castle yet again by playing this really ineffective move, knight to c5. Moving your pieces with tempo, even in the opening, can be good sometimes, but not if your opponent can improve the position of that attacked piece. And what he's done, of course, he's now moved his queen 1 square over to d4, which attacks h7 and also attacks the knight at the same time. So he's managed to fulfill that objective. Right, queen d6. Okay, unfortunately I missed the real threat of white's 15 queen d4 of this move here. Okay, which was the double attack on which was the attack on the pawn, and yep, he's right, I had missed that. So yeah, again another opportunity to do something, and I didn't do it. Your fear of white pushing the d pawn was unfounded, because that is what I was worried about, is the d4 pawn being pushed. Hold on a second. Missed this raw threat, which is the attack. Fear of pushing the d4 was unfounded, as d6 square is defended 3 times by black, and white would have lost the piece, or lost the pawn. So that's why he wouldn't have pushed the pawn. So this again comes down to being able to look at the board and calculate and try and make the right decisions. And if I'd looked at that really and understood what was going on, then I would have realised that the pawn move to d6 was never going to happen, because he was just going to lose his piece. Right, onwards, because we're moving onwards. Okay, so in comes the attack, and I move the bishop out, and Joezerneem says this gives the white the opportunity to play the in-between move 17 rook e1 check, which of course it does, because I've moved the bishop out of the way. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Of course, my own king isn't safe on c8, but safer than one on e8. Okay, so rook. Okay, right. Okay, castling long is good, but unfortunately white has another nasty double attack after this. Queen h3, check, forking the king and the bishop on h5. So, where are we? We are now on move 18. Okay, move 18. Right. So again, this proves this move, rook h to g8, is a tactical mistake, as will be shown. Even though the position is not technically lost, I would definitely have kept queens on the board with 18 queen d7. Instead, preparing for an attack with r rook to h to g8 afterwards, and hoping that white doesn't find the best moves. So you know, I'm really not playing good moves at all. And just to move that back, he duly takes the queen, and we swap the queens off. And I mean, I didn't really want to swap the queens off, but I didn't really see much of an alternative at that stage. But as Joezerneem says, now the game is virtually over there after this big material loss. At beginner level, it's not good news to resign. So I mean, when we was playing the game live, you know, I made one of the comments I made several times was that, you know, the better players will usually look at a position and go, oh, I ain't worth carrying on here, I'll just give up and resign. But there's absolutely no reason at all when you're at beginner level why you should ever resign. Because it's as easy for your opponent at this level to make a mistake as it is for you to make a mistake. So, you know, it doesn't matter who you're playing, never feel as if you have to resign a game. You know, you're perfectly entitled to play on until the very last, as we did in this game. I mean, you know, me and Strize have played a number of games, and we've played it out right out to the bitter end, and it doesn't matter who's been winning or who's been losing. And we've had some really weird, strange, crazy end games, but you know, it's all part of the fun. And there was the following move that I never even saw really. So again, this comes back to a lack of calculation. Was giving away my rook, and you know, and you can look at this now and you can say, yeah, I mean, white's all over this, and the score is, oh, I don't know, +8. It's showing +8 on here, and it really doesn't get any better from here. And as Joezerneem says, you know, if your opponent blunders, you might get back in the game. So, you know, another good reason not to resign. And his final note is this: if you want to increase your chances on stalemate in the end, you need to make sure you have no other pieces that can move besides your king. Sorry. In this game, it was better to run your last pawns up the board and sacrifice them, or make sure they can't move any further instead of moving your king. So I'll just play through the last few moves so you can see how the game actually went. And you know, it really was a matter of time, and all I was doing was just playing and hoping that you know, Strize might make a mistake. You know, I've made mistakes against him, and he's made mistakes against me, and you know, and that's why, you know, you don't resign. So again, you know, instead of playing with pawns and moving my pawns around, you know, I'm moving the king around, doing absolutely nothing. Yeah, sure, I've managed to capture a piece or two. I knew the knight was going to take the rook, but you know, I had to try and get the rook off the board. But I'm running out of material now, and you know, I'm 3 pieces down. You know, all I've got left is my dark squared bishop, and I'm up against 2 bishops, a knight and a rook. You know, the game's well over. So all I'm doing now is playing a bit of damage limitation and just see if something materializes. But again, I don't have anything to do. I don't have any moves to play really, and I just moved around basically until Strize had captured all my pieces, and we played out a 25 move end game. So I'll just scoot through these moves really quickly. There's no analysis on them, obviously, because the game's completely and utterly over, and that would be just a total waste of time. So I was just seeing if I could maybe pick up a pair. And I mean, like I referred to in the video, when me and Strize played one game where I had him bang to rights and ended up with a stalemate because I made one stupid move. So again, you know, that goes back to the why you should never resign situation, because you know, you never know if your opponent's going to screw up like you might do. So that's the game over. I hope you found this as a beginner player interesting, and I hope you found Joezerneem's notes interesting, and I hope I've gone through them and explained them well enough. If anyone's left any comments or would like to leave any comments, nobody has. Okay, we don't have the highest viewing figures in the world, but never mind. We'll get there. So, but play back through the video again, see the bits where the mistakes were made, and you know, try and understand the principles of the game, and that's to get your some occupation of the centre, get your minor pieces developed to good squares, not just anywhere like my bishop move into no man's land over on g5, which was an absolute nothing move. And you know, you should be looking to improve your position and improve your pieces, and you know, that move was a second move of the no, it wasn't. It was the first move of the bishop, but it achieved absolutely nothing. So if there was a principle to be broken in this game, you've probably seen all of them broken in one game. So do try and learn from that if you're a beginner player, because unless you can try and eliminate these mistakes, then you're always going to end up in bad positions and in bad games and getting beaten, and which is not always easy to take. And I know, speaking from experience, I'm not a good loser, and playing chess has at least taught me that, you know, you do have to lose in this game. You're never going to get any better if you don't lose. But what you've got to try and do is learn from your mistakes. There's a great area on live chess where you can do puzzles and tactics, and Joezerneem is forever telling me, practice your tactics, practice your puzzles, learn to read the board, or try and understand what's going on the board, and try and learn from the things you do wrong. You know, I'd probably drive Ben Feingold bananas as a student, even though I'd be a very mature student. He always says to his kids, you know, I tell you not to do it, and then you still do it, and then you wonder why you lose. Well, don't do the things I tell you not to do, and then you will improve. You won't keep losing. So that's really what the game's about. Try and learn from your mistakes. Try and improve. Try and read the board. Try and find good positions and squares for your pieces. Try and outthink your opponent. Try and read what your opponent's going to do. John Bartholomew does some terrific videos. The Climbing the Ratings ladder selection or series of videos is really good, and he makes it look so easy. Where he actually describes, he plays lower rated players, and he's an international master. He plays lower rated players, and he actually goes through all of the moves. He plays simple moves and then just waits for the beginner players to make the mistakes. But he does it in a really nice way. He's not condescending, he's not talking down to people. He's a cracking video to watch. Anyway, that's it from me for tonight. If you've watched all this, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done already and you're a new viewer to my channel. My channel is out there to try and help beginner players. I'm not an expert, never will be. No matter how hard I try, I just try and do my best. So there we go. This is a shout out again on behalf of the Backyard Professor fan club. We're on live chess. You can find us in the community section of the forums. You can search for the Backyard Professor fan club. Joezerneem is the administrator of the club. I know the Backyard Professor is out and about there somewhere. All the best to you, my friend. Look forward to playing you again soon. If you're a beginner player, again, and you want to watch some cracking videos, go and watch all of the BYP stuff. Go and look up Backyard Professor. Go and watch his videos. And what he does is he teaches, or he shows, how good players play the game. And that's where I started to learn things about this game, because I could move pieces around, but I had no idea what I was doing. I know you might look at this and go, you still haven't got much idea what you're doing. And yeah, to a certain extent, you're right. But we've all got to start somewhere. So I'm starting this chess journey late in life, you know. So my expectations of getting far with it are not very good. But, you know, BYP videos go back a few years, but the last year or so he's got some fabulous material. So go and watch him, and watch some of these games watch some of these videos repeatedly, because, you know, you will pick up good points. You will learn stuff, and then just try and do those things in your own games. He shows lots of games where there's masters played. He's done Bobby Fischer. He's done all the great players, most of which I don't even know. But he's done a load of videos on those. He's featured games where between himself and other BYP fan club members. So if you're a beginner player, and even if you're not, you just want to have a laugh. You know, he's got his own really unique way of presenting his videos. I find them highly infectious. I love watching his videos, and I've watched lots of them many times because I love the way he delivers his chess videos. Ben Feingold, really good. You know, and watch the kids' videos. You know, watch the videos he does for kids if you're a beginner player. He's really quite funny, and there's loads of stuff there that you can learn, and most of it's very suspicious. And John Bartholomew, excellent player to watch. Does loads of fabulous videos via on his own channel. I also watch a guy called Hanging Pawns from Croatia or somewhere like that, and he's a bit like me, art on your sleeve. He hates himself when he makes mistakes, and so do I. There we go. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. I'm off now. I'm going to finish the tea. I haven't even started, which is now nearly cold. And we'll catch you when we next do a live stream by Boris. So thank you very much. Good night. Stay lucky.